Shalom, everybody. Before we head into the weekend, and I know we all deserve a good rest, I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, brought to you by these guys, Lay of the Land, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines in Israel that you might not see in your mainstream media in your country, and we do it every Monday to Thursday. It is day 342 since the 7th of October. And yes, the Israel Brief broadcasts in peacetime as well as wartime, but we still have 101 hostages being held captive in the Hamas terror tunnels, and we need to get them back immediately. It has been 342 days. So let's take a look at those top stories, and we begin with Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who shared some correspondence, a letter that had been found in Gaza. Now, this is a letter written to Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, Israel's most wanted man, by the former commander of the Khan Yunis brigade. And in the letter, it speaks about how Hamas, their forces are significantly broken. The memo goes on to speak about how the organization has suffered significant losses and says at least 90 to 95% of their rocket capabilities have been destroyed. About 65 to 70% of their anti-tank missile capabilities have been destroyed, and at least 50% of their fighters have either been killed or are injured. It also goes on to say that they are broken either mentally or physically. Now, this is evidentiary support to what the defense minister said yesterday, is that Hamas's fighting capability has been destroyed. No word yet if any response from Sinwar has been found, but you would think at this stage of the war, with such significant damage and the citizens of Gaza starting very bravely, albeit in their small numbers, to turn against Hamas, that Sinwar would surrender and release the hostages. So I think we need to continue to put the pressure on that we want our hostages back, surrender, and the war ends today. Unrwa have accused Israel of killing 6 of their staff. Now, this is the United Nations Relief Works Agency, and we know from coverage during this war that not only have some of their staff members been members of Hamas or embedded with Hamas, but also their facilities, their schools, their hospitals have been used as either command centers by Hamas or as weapon storage facilities. Well, the IDF struck a former school in Nuseirat after receiving intel that it was being used by Hamas as a command center. Now, UNRWA say that 6 of their staff were killed. Israel says that the munitions used and everything that was done before the strike was to mitigate any civilian casualties. Now, this has resulted in a lot of criticism from Israel. We've heard from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who said it's unacceptable. These sentiments have just been echoed by Germany, but we know from UNRWA's record that not only have some of their staff been members of Hamas, but some of their staff actively participated in the atrocities of the 7th of October. Some of their staff celebrated the atrocities of the 7th of October. Their schools have been used as incitement facilities, and I think, as we have seen throughout the war, we will see intelligence, or we will see evidence uncovered that if any UNRWA staff were in fact killed, that possibly they have ties to Hamas. So watch this space. Prime Minister Netanyahu, in a quiet and unusual move, appealed to the Israeli Attorney General Galia Miara Baharav to investigate him and Yoav Gallant, the defense minister. Now, the reason he did this is because, as I reported yesterday, the chief prosecutor for the International Criminal Court, or ICC, Karim Khan, has doubled down and has said that he wants immediate arrest warrants issued, not only for Yahya Sinwar of Hamas, but for Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant. Now, Baharav has refused this, saying that the ICC will see this as a ploy and only a state-level investigation will have credibility. Meanwhile, UK lawyers for Israel have filed against Karim Khan at the Bar Standards Commission, saying that he made false allegations against Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant. They have claimed that Karim Khan, KC, misled the court by failing to provide it with exonerating evidence. They say that was sent to the ICC by the legal advocacy group. Now, also know that the high-level military group, which I'm going to speak about in a second, have also filed papers with the court supporting Israel's claims. UK lawyers for Israel allege that the chief prosecutor, I'm going to quote you directly from their release, asked the court to ignore any information or evidence other than the material he originally filed in his applications for arrest warrants. That is quite an indictment. So it will be very, very interesting to see how this progresses. And we, of course, will be watching this very, very carefully, as the Prime Minister's office said that this is an absolute moral disgrace of the highest order and is a political move with no professional legal basis. And finally, let's end off on a positive note. You know, as a journalist, one of the perks of the job is to get to speak to really, really interesting people. And last week I had the wonderful opportunity to speak to a retired major and former paratroop and former lecturer at Sandhurst Military Academy, and now now a research fellow at a military think tank, Andrew Fox, whose work you can follow online on X. And we discussed his opinions about how Israel is prosecuting this war, and he made so many phenomenal statements. But what he said is that, you know, to the naked eye, yes, there looks like a lot of destruction in Gaza, but you have to not look above ground, you have to look underground. And he said the key to understanding this war is understanding three things: October the 7th, and he and the rest of the high-level military group, including the former commander of NATO, who has written a brilliant piece in the Times UK today. You have to understand the tunnels. You have to understand October the 7th. They've seen the horrific 47-minute footage that has been taken from the GoPros and the CCTVs and all the evidence gathering from that day. And you need to understand the hostage situation. If you understand those three things, you understand Israel's response. And it seems that any military expert, when presented with the evidence, all says the same things. The Israeli army is operating in an unprecedented urban warfare field, that the Israeli army is going above and beyond the requirements of the laws of armed conflict with the way that they are prosecuting this war. And what is a very interesting point is that there is a difference between the laws of armed conflict and international humanitarian law, and the IDF is observing both. And what Andrew said is that, you know, if there are mistakes made, and every military makes mistakes, he said that the IDF investigate that. They investigate and they course correct, he says, which is expected of any democratic military. So for anybody out there playing armchair general and trying to weigh in, take your opinions and take your advice from the work, the observations of the real military experts who have been on the ground in Gaza and have seen for themselves how the IDF, how Israel is prosecuting this war. Right, so let's get on to today's audience question, and it comes from Jason in Sydney, who says, have people started to return to the kibbutzim? Jason, yes, they have. Many of the residents have started to return, especially for the start of the school year. Not all of them, as you can well imagine. Some of them don't feel safe enough yet. They might still feel extremely traumatized, but a lot of them have started to go back. And it, of course, is very, very bittersweet. But they have appealed to all of us to do whatever we can to support the regeneration of the Western Negev. This is where these communities, where these kibbutzim are situated, and of course we will do everything to support them. So that's it from the Israel Brief for this week. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. You guys know what to do. You guys are pros. I don't need to tell you. Our Facebook communities at Lottel's site. We're on Instagram on my private page, Rolene_Marks. We're on X at Lay of the Land 5. We're on LinkedIn on my profile. Wow, guys, we're really getting out there. And all that remains is for me to wish you a wonderful, a restful weekend. Shabbat Shalom, wherever you are in the world. Take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you. I adore every single one of you. And I will see you again for your news headlines on Monday. Bye for now.